So, hi everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about the bittersweet reality of diabetes tech. My name's Georgina. I've been a developer at True for around 2 years now, and I've been a diabetic for over 25 years. So in that time, I have tried and tested many different types of diabetes technology. But first up, what is diabetes? Well, the diabetes I will be talking about today is the one that I have, which is type 1 diabetes. This means that my pancreas does not produce any insulin. Insulin is there for breaking down glucose, which comes from food, and because mine doesn't work properly, I have to take over the job and do it myself. Type 1 diabetes is also an autoimmune disease, meaning there is currently no cure. But thankfully, there is a lot of diabetes tech out there to help make our lives easier. So I'll just go over a few of those now. So first up, we have the old school tech, the blood glucose monitor and the injections. If anyone here knows someone with diabetes, you might have seen these before. Almost all type 1 diabetics have probably used these. So the blood glucose monitor is for testing our sugar levels, and the injections are for injecting the insulin. Next up, we have what I feel are the upgrades of the previous two, the continuous glucose monitor and the insulin pump. So the CGM is a sensor which usually sits on the back of your arm, like I have, and essentially it continuously monitors your glucose levels, and it sends those readings to an app on your phone. And then the insulin pump is a bit like a replacement for the injections. You're essentially on a continuous drip of insulin. It's attached to you either via a tube or a patch pump, like I have. And so it's basically will continuously give you insulin, whether you're doing exercise or eating food. And then finally, we have the hybrid closed-loop system. This basically creates a relationship between the previous two, where the insulin pump can now read the data from the CGM itself and make decisions for you on how much insulin you get. So really great tech. And we've come a long way. So here we have an early prototype of one of the first closed-loop insulin pumps. This was created in 1987. Obviously, it's very bulky, not very usable, but it worked. And it definitely helped pave the way to where we are today. Sounds great, right? Well, not always. Myself and many other diabetics are constantly finding issues with the apps we have to use, the pieces of tech that we have to use to talk to all of this amazing tech that has been created for us. We're constantly finding accessibility issues. There seems like a real lack of quality control, and just the aspect that we don't really have much control around these apps. So I'm going to go over a few of these issues now, and this really is just a few. So first up, we have the accessibility issues. Oh, I've gone too far. There we go. So here I have 3 screenshots of the apps we use. 2 screenshots from one app and 1 from another. So as you can see right off the bat, these apps look pretty inaccessible, from the tiny fonts used and the really poor choice in color. And the fact we have these huge graphs that take up a lot of space, and it kind of hides what I feel is more important information at the top and bottom here. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, we probably all should improve the accessibility of our products. But when your target market are people that have, unfortunately, a higher chance of having vision accessibility-related issues, you really should be thinking about these things. And the fact that they aren't is just kind of crazy, really. Next up, I'll go over the quality control issues. So going back to that CGM app, at the top here, we have something called our last 24 hours in range. Here we have another thing called the timing range. So here, this is generally a target of how often you should be in a good blood glucose level. So generally, the target is around 70%. Obviously, I wasn't having a great day here, but nonetheless, still very important information. And then last year, there was an update. So this update was to remove the need of having to hold your phone to the sensor to get the data. It would now send the data directly to your phone, which was great. But as well as this, there was some odd UI changes, one of which actually included just removing that last 24 hours in range, information that we have been relying on for so long, and just replacing it with this very large, angry number. As well as that, we used to have a logbook of all of our readings, which was very helpful. We could look back on that. And as part of that upgrade, they just stopped making that work. The only way we could get those logs to work was to go back to scanning the sensor, which kind of felt like it was a half-done job. And people actually thought that these changes were bugs, but unfortunately, we slowly realized they were features. And this app upgrade went so badly that it even made the news. There were people all over the UK that lost access to the app for over 2 weeks. This is an app that people rely on, and instead of trying to put out a fix pretty quickly, they simply reply by saying, "Oh, well, just use your blood glucose monitor." But that's a little bit like going into Apple with a broken phone and them just saying, "Oh, well, just use your landline." Like, that just wouldn't happen. So why should we have to put up with a response like that for something that's there to help keep us alive? This app upgrade really should have never gone live when it did. And then finally, the lack of control. So here I have some screenshots of the alarm features on the apps. I've got on app 1, so these alarms are there to tell us when we go outside of that target range, whether you go above or below. So yeah, on app 1, so basically on app 1, what you can do is pretty minimal. You can turn them off or you can turn them on. And when they are on, they're very loud. And you can't change that. And recently, there was an upgrade to the sensor, and as part of this upgrade, they made those alarms even louder. They're actually so loud now that someone has reported that their neighbor can hear them going off at night. So this really just shows they have not considered the user when they created this product. On app 2, so I moved to app 2 more recently. At first, I was pleasantly surprised by how much better it felt. I had all of these alarm tunes to choose from, including one called Baby Cry, which sounds just as bad as you can probably imagine. But despite that, I soon realized that I actually couldn't turn off all the alarms. There are some alarms on this app that they have just decided that I must have on. And it's kind of like they've forgotten that there's people out there, like myself, that have had diabetes for 20 to 30 years without any of this technology. So why must we now be controlled by this alarm? Again, they really have not considered their user when creating this product. And the reviews speak for themselves. So as you can see, these are just the reviews you can find in the app stores, and they are pretty poor. And the point I'm trying to make here is that these aren't just games or apps we use to kill time. They are apps that we use to help keep us alive. And people have been raising their voices for years, and we are just not being heard. But what if they just asked us? Well, I think time and time again, product owners, designers, and even developers can become blind to what they think a user needs compared to what a user actually wants and needs. And if we spent more time investing into user testing and research, we could create some serious improvements, and I think definitely for this product. And we all know that poor design leads to competition. So these are just 4 apps that have been created to compete with the ones I've just shown you. 2 of which are actually open source, and one even allows you to customize your whole UI. And the point here is that these apps were all created by frustrated diabetics. But we are encouraged to use the apps that are funded by the NHS and our healthcare providers, the ones that doctors and nurses are also allowed to use. So why can't we make these the best that they can be? Without considering accessibility, quality control, or how a user interacts with this product, well, sometimes I feel like I might as well be pushing around this, because at least it worked. Thank you for listening.